Beloved child, Archangel Michael is standing before you right now with a message that heaven has authorized for this exact moment. Today is not an ordinary day. Today is the day you receive the verdict that has been sealed in the courts of heaven since your trial began. Listen carefully, because what I am about to tell you will change the way you see everything you have been through. You passed the hardest, most brutal, most unrelenting test that heaven has ever placed before you. You survived it. You conquered it. And heaven is roaring with celebration over your name right now. You had no idea, did you? You thought those years of silence were abandonment. You believed those seasons of loss were evidence that heaven had turned its gaze away from your suffering. Every night you spent on your knees, every prayer that seemed to dissolve into the ceiling, every morning you woke up wondering if today would finally be the day something shifted. All of it was the examination. Not a single moment was accidental. Not a single tear was overlooked. The Almighty was measuring something inside you that no human eye could detect. I watched you, child. When the world offered you bitterness as a reasonable response, you chose grace. When betrayal carved wounds so deep you could barely stand, you chose to keep your heart open. When every logical reason told you to abandon your faith and walk away from the altar, you stayed. You dropped to your knees again. You whispered through cracked lips, "I still believe." And when those words left your mouth, the foundations of heaven trembled with admiration. If you have ever felt the weight of heaven's attention on your life, and you know that Archangel Michael is speaking directly to your spirit right now, type the word "anointed" in the comments below. Let that single word become your declaration before the throne. Heaven is recording every response. Do you understand what it means to pass a test you did not even know you were taking? Most people never reach this threshold. Most people surrender at the second or third wave of pressure. They negotiate with their faith. They trade their conviction for temporary comfort. But you refuse to let go even when holding on cost you everything. That is not human willpower, beloved. That is divine endurance planted in your spirit by the hand of the Almighty Himself. I need you to hear this next part with your spirit wide open. The test was never about what you lost. It was never about the relationship that crumbled, the opportunity that vanished, the health scare that terrified you, or the financial collapse that left you gasping for air. Those were the instruments of the test, not the test itself. The real examination was hidden beneath every crisis. Heaven was asking one question, and one question only. Will this child trust me when there is nothing left to hold on to except my word? And you answered. Not with eloquent prayers or perfect theology. You answered with your stubborn, relentless, sometimes trembling refusal to let go of the hand of God. You answered by showing up to pray when you had no energy to pray. You answered by choosing forgiveness when your flesh screamed for revenge. You answered by whispering, "God is still good," when every circumstance around you argued the opposite. Here is what the enemy never wanted you to discover. Every delay was strategic. Every closed door was divine protection. Every unanswered prayer was heaven saying, "Not yet, because what I have prepared is so much greater than what you are asking for." The adversary wanted you to interpret the silence as rejection. He whispered lies in your weakest hours. God has forgotten you. God is punishing you. God chose everyone else but you. But today, Archangel Michael tears the mask off that deception and reveals the truth. The silence was the loudest form of trust heaven could offer you. A teacher does not speak during the final examination. The silence was not distance. It was confidence. God was so certain of what He had placed inside you that He did not need to intervene. Think about that for a moment. The creator of the universe, the one who holds galaxies in the span of His hand, looked at you in your weakest, most fragile, most exhausted state and said, "I trust this child. They will not break." That is not a small thing, beloved. That is the highest honor heaven can bestow upon a human soul. You are walking inside a story that is about to enter its most glorious chapter, and what follows will show you exactly why the fire was never designed to end you. Now let me take you deeper into the chambers of this revelation. Because passing the test is only half of the story. The other half is understanding what the test was forging inside you. You see, heaven never wastes suffering. Every furnace has a purpose. Every crucible produces something that could not exist without the heat. And the fire you walked through was not designed to reduce you. It was designed to reveal you. Before the trial began, there were things attached to your spirit that did not belong there. Weights you had been carrying for so long that you mistook them for parts of your identity. Fear that had woven itself into the fabric of your daily thoughts. Pride that disguised itself as self-protection. Bitterness that called itself boundaries. Anxiety that masqueraded as caution. These were not your true nature, beloved. They were impostors occupying the space where glory was supposed to live. And the only way to separate them from you, the only way to extract them without destroying the precious metal underneath, was fire. I remember the night you sat alone in the dark, staring at the ceiling, asking a question that heaven has heard from every tested soul since the beginning of time. Why? Why me? Why now? Why this? Your voice cracked on the last word because you had run out of reasons to keep asking. You were not just questioning the trial. You were questioning whether the God you had served your entire life was still listening. I need you to know something that will rewrite the narrative of your suffering. I heard every syllable, every whispered prayer that you thought dissolved into emptiness landed directly on the altar of the Most High. Not one was lost. Not one was ignored. Every cry was cataloged, time-stamped, and stored in a book that bears your name in letters of gold. The Almighty did not answer immediately because the answer was not information. The answer was transformation. If He had spoken in that moment, you would have received comfort. But comfort was not what you needed. You needed reconstruction. You needed to be taken apart at the foundation and rebuilt on something that could never be shaken. And that kind of rebuilding requires silence. It requires darkness. It requires the terrifying sensation of free falling with no visible net, because the net is made of faith, and faith is invisible by design. Here is the part that will astonish you when you see it clearly. While you were falling, you were actually flying. While you thought you were sinking, you were being repositioned. The tears you cried in those midnight hours were not evidence of defeat. They were the lubrication for a divine mechanism that was shifting your entire destiny from one track to another. Heaven was rerouting your future in real time, and the pain you felt was the friction of the old path being torn away to make room for the new one. If you sense that this channel carries words that are divinely timed for your exact season, subscribe right now and activate the notification bell. These are not ordinary messages. They are throne room dispatches, and the one meant for your breakthrough could arrive at any moment. I saw you pick yourself up on mornings when getting out of bed felt like an act of war. I watched you smile at people who had no idea you were hemorrhaging on the inside. I observed you choosing to be kind when cruelty would have been so much easier. I witnessed you praying for the same people who had wounded you, not because you felt like it, but because you knew it was the right thing to do. That, my child, is what passed the test. Not perfection. Not impressive performances of faith. Your raw, unpolished, bleeding, stubborn refusal to become what your pain tried to make you. The adversary had a blueprint for your destruction. He studied your weaknesses. He identified your pressure points. He orchestrated circumstances designed to push you past your breaking point because he knew that if you survived the fire, you would emerge carrying an authority that would terrify his kingdom. So he threw everything at you. Loneliness, confusion, financial ruin, broken relationships, health crises, slander from people you trusted, the loss of dreams you had nursed since childhood. Every weapon was calculated, every assault was precise, and every single. 1. Failed. Not because you were strong enough to withstand them on your own. Let me be clear about that. You were not strong enough. You told me so yourself in those prayers where you stopped pretending and just collapsed before the throne in raw honesty. I cannot do this anymore, God. I am finished. But here's the mystery that the enemy will never comprehend. Your weakness was the very thing that activated heaven's strength in your life. When you said, I cannot, God said, now I can. Your surrender was not failure. It was the key that unlocked the vault of divine power. Let me peel back another layer of this divine truth, because what I am about to reveal will reshape the way you understand every season of hardship you have ever walked through. The wilderness was never a wasteland, beloved. It was a classroom. And the curriculum was written specifically for your destiny. You asked God for greater capacity. He gave you greater pressure, because capacity only expands under pressure. You asked for deeper faith. He removed the things you leaned on instead of Him, because faith cannot deepen while crutches remain. You asked for wisdom. He allowed confusion, because wisdom is the reward that comes only to those who seek God in the fog, rather than demanding the fog be removed first. Every prayer you prayed was answered, but the answers came disguised as trials, and that is why you did not recognize them. Think about what happened when the people you relied on disappeared. At first, it felt like abandonment. It felt like betrayal. It felt like the universe was stripping you naked and leaving you exposed in a storm. But here is what was actually happening in the spiritual realm. God was removing the intermediaries between you and Him. He was eliminating every buffer, every cushion, every safety net that stood between your soul and His raw, unfiltered presence. Because as long as you had someone else to call first, someone else to lean on first, someone else to run to first, you would never discover that He was enough. The wilderness taught you what no sermon, no book, and no conference ever could. It taught you that when every human support system fails, when every earthly comfort evaporates, when every familiar voice goes silent, His voice remains. It does not shout over the noise. It whispers in the stillness. And you learned to hear that whisper. You learned to distinguish His gentle instruction from the roaring chaos of your circumstances. That ability, beloved, is worth more than any material blessing heaven could pour out, because blessings come and go. Seasons shift. Finances fluctuate. Relationships evolve. But the ability to hear the voice of God in the darkness, that is an eternal upgrade to your spirit that can never be taken from you. I watched something extraordinary happen during your wilderness season that you were too close to the situation to see. Your character was being carved, not added to, carved. The way a master sculptor approaches a block of marble, God approached your life with a chisel in one hand and a vision in the other. He already saw the finished masterpiece inside the raw stone, but the excess had to go. The rough edges had to be chipped away. The unnecessary bulk had to fall to the floor so that the shape hidden beneath could finally breathe. Every relationship that ended was a chunk of marble falling away. Every opportunity that dissolved was the sculptor's chisel removing what did not belong in the final form. Every dream that died was not a casualty. It was a liberation. Because some of the dreams you were chasing were too small for the destiny God had written over your life. You were praying for a puddle when He was preparing an ocean. You were begging for crumbs when He was setting a banquet. And the only way to enlarge your vision was to let the small dreams die so that the God-sized dreams could take their place. Now, here is the revelation that changes everything. I need you to anchor this in the deepest chamber of your spirit, because this is the turning point of everything I am telling you today. The fire was not punishment. The wilderness was not rejection. The silence was not absence. Every single element of your trial was the Almighty doing one thing. He was making you into someone who could carry what He is about to release. Because the blessing that is coming toward you is so massive, so overwhelming, so beyond anything you have imagined or prayed for, that the old version of you could not have held it. The old foundation would have cracked. The old character would have been corrupted by it. The old heart would have been destroyed by the very thing it desired. So God rebuilt you. Quietly, painfully, thoroughly. He reinforced your foundation with trials. He fortified your character with hardship. He expanded your capacity through suffering. And now, you are ready. The vessel has been prepared. The foundation has been laid. The character has been tested and proven. And heaven is about to pour. You need to understand something about the timing of God that most people never grasp. He is never late. He is never early. He operates on a timeline that accounts for variables you cannot see from your position on the earth. While you were counting the days and wondering why the breakthrough had not arrived, God was counting the conditions. He was monitoring the readiness of your spirit. He was measuring the depth of your surrender. He was waiting for the exact moment when your heart was pure enough, humble enough, and strong enough to receive what He had prepared without being destroyed by it. That moment is today. If those words sent a tremor through your spirit, if you felt heaven's atmosphere descend into your room like a warm wave of authority, share this message right now. Think of at least 3 people who have been silently crying through their own fire and send this to them today, in your family group chat, in your church WhatsApp group. Do not let them go another night believing the lie that God has forgotten them. Your act of sharing becomes a rescue mission for someone who is one prayer away from giving up. There is a weight to what I am about to reveal that will settle in your spirit like an anchor dropping into still water. Because everything I have spoken so far was the surface, the foundation, the context that your mind needed before your spirit could absorb the deeper truth. What comes next is the part that heaven has been preparing you to hear since the moment you pressed play. Not everyone is ready for this level of revelation, but you are. The fire proved that you are. Now Archangel Michael takes you deeper still. Because I have told you that you passed, but I have not yet told you everything about the one thing that almost kept you from passing. And you need to hear this, because understanding it is what will prevent you from ever being trapped by it again. There was a force working against you throughout your entire trial that was more dangerous than any external attack, more lethal than the betrayal, more destructive than the financial collapse, more suffocating than the loneliness. This force did not come from the enemy. It came from within you, and its name is the need to understand before you obey. Let me expose this, because it nearly cost you everything. There were moments in your trial when God gave you a clear instruction. Walk away from that situation. Forgive that person. Release that grudge. Give when you have nothing. Stay when every instinct screams to run. And in those moments, something inside you resisted. Not because you did not love God, not because you were rebellious, but because your mind demanded an explanation that your spirit did not need. You wanted to know why before you said yes. You wanted the blueprint before you laid the first brick. You wanted guarantees before you took the first step. And, beloved, that was the most dangerous moment of your entire trial. Because obedience that waits for understanding is not obedience. It is negotiation. And negotiation does not move heaven. Only surrender moves heaven. Only the raw, unreasonable, illogical act of saying, "Yes, Lord," before you see the reason. That is what activates the machinery of divine intervention in your life. But here is the part that should make you weep with gratitude. You almost stumbled at that point, but you did not fall. Something deeper than your logic, something stronger than your need to comprehend, rose up inside you and overruled your resistance. Your spirit grabbed the wheel from your mind and said, "We are doing this God's way." and you obeyed. Trembling, confused, terrified, but you obeyed. That act of raw surrender is the precise moment you passed the test. Not when the trial ended. Not when the breakthrough appeared. The test was passed in the middle of the fire when you chose God's instruction over your own understanding. Heaven recorded that moment. Angels marked the timestamp. And the Almighty turned to every principality and power that had been assigned against you and declared with absolute finality, "This child is mine, and you will never defeat a heart that obeys without conditions. I know what it cost you. I know the relationships you walked away from because God told you to, even though your heart was screaming to stay. I know the money you gave away when your bank account was already bleeding. I know the apology you offered to someone who never deserved it, because God whispered, 'Release them.' I know the silence you kept when you had every right to defend yourself, because the Almighty said, 'Let me fight this battle.' Every single act of surrender was cataloged in the archives of heaven as a victory. If the weight of that revelation is settling over your spirit right now, if you feel the chains of confusion finally falling away as you understand for the first time why God asked you to do the things that made no sense, type these words as your declaration of freedom. I obey without conditions. Let those words become the anthem of your new season. Let them echo through the halls of heaven and announce to every spiritual force that your allegiance has been settled permanently. You see, most people believe that faithfulness is measured by how well you perform, by how consistently you pray, by how many scriptures you memorize, by how often you attend worship. And while none of those things are wrong, they are not what heaven measures when it evaluates the depth of your commitment. Heaven measures one thing above all others. What do you do when it costs you? What do you do when obedience requires sacrifice? What do you do when following God means losing something you love? That is where the real examination takes place, and that is where you prove to yourself. Not in the sanctuary, not in the prayer closet, not in the moments of worship when the music was playing and the atmosphere was thick with glory. You proved yourself in the valley, in the silence, in the dark, in the moments when no one was watching and there was no audience to perform for. You proved yourself in the raw, unfiltered, unscripted moments of daily life when the choice was between comfort and obedience, and you chose obedience. Do you realize how rare that is? Do you have any concept of how few souls on this earth have the spiritual fortitude to choose God's will over their own repeatedly, in season after season of testing without breaking? Heaven is not casually acknowledging what you did, beloved. Heaven is celebrating you. The same angels who watched you weep in the night are now preparing the reward that has been held in reserve for exactly this moment. Now, Archangel Michael brings the revelation to the place that will shake the very foundation of what you believed about your own journey, because there is one more layer to this truth that you have not yet seen. And when it comes into focus, you will understand why everything had to happen exactly the way it did. The breaking was not destruction, beloved. It was birth. I need you to sit with those words for a moment. Let them sink past your intellect and lodge themselves in the deepest chamber of your spirit. Because your entire understanding of what happened to you depends on grasping this single truth. You are not falling apart. You are being opened. The pain you felt was not the sensation of something dying. It was the sensation of something new, fighting its way into existence through you. Think about what happens at the moment of birth. There is pressure. There is pain. There is a feeling that the body cannot endure what is being asked of it. Every muscle strains. Every nerve screams. The process looks violent from the outside, but what is actually happening is the most sacred act in all of creation. New life is entering the world, and the vessel that carries that life must expand beyond its previous limits to allow the passage. That is what happened to you. The breaking you experienced was your spirit expanding. Your capacity was being enlarged. Your spiritual boundaries were being pushed outward to accommodate something that the old unbroken version of you simply could not contain. God did not break you to harm you. He broke you open so that His glory could flow through you without restriction. Every crack in your heart became a channel for His compassion. Every fracture in your confidence became a doorway for His strength. Every shattered expectation became an opening for His plan, which was always larger, always deeper, always more magnificent than anything you had designed for yourself. The master potter does not destroy clay out of cruelty. He reshapes it because He can see a form that the clay cannot imagine. And you, beloved, are the clay that submitted to His hands even when the reshaping felt like annihilation. If you feel something shifting in the atmosphere around you right now, if there is warmth spreading through your chest or pressure behind your eyes, do not resist it. That is the presence of the Most High confirming what Archangel Michael is speaking over you today. Let it wash over you. Let it heal the places in your soul that are still raw from the fire. I watched the moments that no one else saw. The nights when you sat on the edge of your bed with your head in your hands, asking questions that had no answers. Will this pain ever end? Will I ever feel normal again? Did I lose myself somewhere in this wilderness? I was there, not watching from a distance, standing right beside you. And I can tell you with the full authority of heaven that you did not lose yourself. You lost the version of yourself that was never meant to survive the fire. The fear burned away. The insecurity burned away. The people-pleasing burned away. The desperate need for approval burned away. And what remained, what survived the furnace, is the authentic, unshakable, divinely designed version of you that was always hidden beneath the rubble of everything the world had piled on top of you. You are not who you were before the test, and that is not a loss. That is the greatest gain of your entire existence. The person who entered the trial was carrying weights that would have destroyed them if they had been allowed to continue. The person who emerged from the trial is lighter, cleaner, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You are now a weapon in the hands of the Almighty, a polished arrow in His quiver, a tested and proven vessel that can carry His glory without cracking under the weight. The enemy knows this. He can see the transformation that has taken place in you, and he is terrified because the version of you that survived the fire is not the same person he attacked. The person he went after was vulnerable, wounded, and unsure. The person standing now is fortified, refined, and carrying a mandate from heaven that no demonic strategy can reverse. Let me tell you something that will settle this truth permanently in your spirit. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment. Take a deep breath, and then type these words with absolute conviction. The fire crowned me. Because that is the truth of what happened. The fire was not your punishment. It was your coronation. The flames were not consuming you. They were forging a crown that only the tested can wear. And you are wearing it right now. Whether you can see it or not, heaven sees it. Every angel sees it. And the Almighty Himself looks at you today and says, "Well done. You endured. You are ready." Now, child, I must tell you what is happening. At this very moment in the realm you cannot see with your natural eyes. Because while you have been listening to this message, something has been activated. The verdict of your test has been released from the heavenly courts, and it is traveling toward your physical reality at a speed that your mind cannot calculate. The manifestation is imminent. Doors that have been sealed for years are about to swing open with such force that the sound will echo through every area of your life. Relationships that were damaged beyond human repair are about to experience divine restoration. Financial provision that defies every natural projection is about to appear in places you have never looked. Health that doctors said would never return is about to surge through your body like a river breaking through a dam. Not because you earned it through the trial, but because the trial proved that you can be trusted with it. This is the economy of heaven, and it operates on principles that the natural world cannot comprehend. God does not distribute his greatest blessings to the most talented. He distributes them to the most tested, because talent without testing produces arrogance. But testing without breaking produces a vessel that can carry glory without spilling a drop. You are that vessel, beloved, tried by fire, verified by suffering, approved by heaven, and now commissioned for abundance. I need you to hear the next words with every fiber of your being, because this is the charge that heaven is issuing over your life today. This is not a suggestion. This is not a gentle encouragement. This is a mandate from the throne of the Most High, delivered through the voice of Archangel Michael with full celestial authority. Rise. Rise from the ashes of what was lost. Rise from the memory of what hurt you. Rise from the narrative that told you the fire was the end of your story. It was not the end. It was the forge. And what was forged in that fire is about to be unveiled. The hidden season is concluding. The preparation is complete. The silence is breaking. And the God who was quiet while he worked is about to speak with a thunder that shakes every obstacle, every barrier, every demonic assignment, and every generational limitation that has ever stood between you and your divine inheritance. Today is the day, not tomorrow, not next month, not in some distant, foggy future that you cannot touch. Today. The same God who tested you in silence is now moving in power. The same hands that held you in the fire are now opening doors that no force in heaven or on earth can shut. The same voice that whispered, "Hold on," is now declaring, "It is time." Watch what happens to your finances in this next season. Watch what happens to your health. Watch what happens to the relationships that the enemy tried to permanently destroy. Watch what happens when God begins to restore not just what was lost, but double what was taken. Because that is the covenant promise to every soul who survives the refiner's fire without cursing the name of the one who lit it. You praised him in the flames. You worshipped him in the ashes. And now he is going to show you why he allowed the fire, by showing you what the fire produced. The reward is not simply the absence of pain. The reward is the presence of purpose. You are stepping into an assignment that heaven designed before the foundation of the world, and your name is written on it in letters that cannot be erased. The trial qualified you. The breaking enlarged you. The silence deepened you. And now the commissioning sends you forward with an anointing that the old, untested version of you could never have carried. I want you to burn this into your memory because this is the decree of heaven, spoken over your life with permanent authority. No weapon formed against you will prosper from this day forward. Every tongue that rises against you in judgment is condemned. Every curse that was spoken over your family line is broken by the blood covenant. Every assignment of delay is canceled. Every spirit of poverty is shattered. Every chain of fear, shame, and regret that has been wrapped around your destiny is snapping at this very moment. You are free. You are favored. You are chosen. You are anointed. And you are stepping into the fullness of everything God has prepared for those who love him and endure until the end. This is not motivation. This is not wishful thinking. This is the verdict of the highest court in existence, the court from which there is no appeal and no reversal. Heaven has spoken. The test is over, and the reward is being released now. My beloved child, I want you to absorb the totality of what has been spoken over you today, because this message was not random. It was not an algorithm. It was not a coincidence that you pressed play at this exact moment in your life. Archangel Michael was dispatched from the throne room with specific instructions to reach your spirit at this hour, because heaven determined that you were ready to receive what has been held in reserve. You passed the test that most never complete. You survived the fire that was designed to break you. You obeyed when obedience cost you everything you held dear. You forgave when forgiveness felt like a betrayal of your own pain. You stayed when every rational thought told you to run. You trusted when the evidence argued against trust. You worshipped when your tears made it almost impossible to see the altar. And now, the God who watched every moment in silence is speaking over you with unmistakable clarity. Your new season has begun. The doors of heaven are open. The angels assigned to your breakthrough are already in motion. Restoration is not coming. It is here. What was stolen is being returned with compound interest. What was broken is being rebuilt with divine engineering. What was delayed is being accelerated with supernatural speed. And what was hidden is being revealed in broad daylight for every eye to see. You were always destined for this moment. The test was never a question mark over your future. It was an exclamation point, confirming that your future is secure in the hands of the one who holds time itself. You did well, beloved. Heaven is proud. Archangel Michael is proud. And the Almighty Father is looking at you right now with eyes full of tenderness and saying 3 words that your soul has been aching to hear. Well done, child. Now carry this truth forward. Do not let the memory of the fire convince you that another fire is coming. The season of testing has ended. The season of reaping has begun. Walk in it with your shoulders back, your head high, and your faith blazing. Because the same God who brought you through the furnace is the one who prepares the feast on the other side. And your seat at that table has been reserved since before you drew your first breath. Before we close, Archangel Michael wants you to know that what you do in the next 60 seconds carries eternal weight. If this message met you at a moment of doubt, loneliness, or spiritual exhaustion, and if heaven's words through this space have been a lifeline for your soul, then I invite you to become part of something that outlasts any single message. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you can visit our Ko-fi community. Whether you choose to join one of our membership tiers, for deeper fellowship and daily devotions, buy a coffee as a seed of faith, or offer a donation to help this mission reach the souls who are still trapped in their fire. Every act of generosity you extend is recorded in Heaven's ledger as an investment in eternal rescue. This is not a channel asking for support. This is a mission asking for fellow soldiers. Your giving waters the soil that grows the next message, the one that will reach someone on their darkest night and remind them that God has not forgotten their name. If you have not yet joined this family by subscribing, do it now. Tap subscribe and activate the notification bell so that the next time Heaven releases a message through this space, you do not miss it. These are not random uploads. They are divine dispatches, and your subscription ensures that the word meant for your season reaches you before the enemy can steal it. And now, beloved, let us close where every encounter with the divine should end, in the presence of the one who began this conversation before the world existed. Heavenly Father, Almighty God, the one who sees the end from the beginning and who holds every tear in a bottle of remembrance. I come before your throne right now carrying every soul who heard these words today. Cover them, Father. Wrap them in the same grace that carried them through the fire. Let your peace, the kind that surpasses all understanding, settle over every anxious thought, every lingering wound, every unhealed memory. Remind them in the quiet hours that they are not alone. Remind them when the doubts creep back that their test is over and their reward is in motion. Guard their hearts against every lie the enemy tries to reinstate. Fortify their faith for the abundance that is about to overflow in every area of their lives. And Father, let them feel your presence right now. Not as a concept, not as theology, but as the warm, intimate, unmistakable embrace of a parent who is endlessly, unconditionally, irrevocably proud of what his child endured. In the mighty name above every name, it is sealed. It is done. Amen.